Welcome to the FMCG Guys podcast, live again from SMG's Retail Media Summit UK. Very happy to be here again. It's the third year in a row that they are nice enough to give me a space to record some podcasts, and I couldn't be more thankful and happier to do this again. So I want to thank the whole SMG team, and super excited to be interviewing now Aaron Gallagher, who's the Managing Director and Head of Sales at Kinnective Media by United Airlines. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Very good. Just off a plane, as I told you?
Yes, yeah, I luckily got in on Monday night.
Nice. We're going to talk a lot about planes, so I'm very excited.
Yes,
It's one of my favorite topics ever. So first of all, wanted to ask, what do you do at Kinnective Media?
Yeah, so I run the sales and commercial team for Kinnective Media by United Airlines. So I started in January of last year, so was one of the early people to come on board with the build out of our Traveler Media Network, which is the first for an airline. I run the sales organization, so really spent the beginning of last year building out the sales organization, working on building out the product together with our team, and we officially launched Kinective in June of 2024 at Cannes. So we have been in market for a little over a year, almost a year and a half. And ultimately with Kinnective Media, we've launched the first traveler or commerce media network where we're really focused on connecting with the 174 million annual travelers that we have at United and reaching them across the entire travel journey. So when they're thinking about travel, they're on united.com and on the United app. When they're in the airport, reaching them through all the dynamic screens that we have in our clubs and our gate information displays, and then reaching them specifically on our in-flight entertainment system, which I can tell you some more about today, but ultimately really focus in on reaching this scalable audience of, as I said, 174 million passengers, 64 million United Mileage Plus members, which is the source of our first-party data, which then allows us to not only reach that consumer across all of our owned and operated platforms, but reaching them off-platform as well.
So basically, like, more than a third of your passengers are on the loyalty scheme as well, or?
Correct. Yeah. So, and that's really going to scale even more as we introduce free Wi-Fi through Starlink for Mileage Plus members, something that we're rolling out. We just announced yesterday. It's been on our regional jets so far, and we rolled out Starlink on our first mainline plane just yesterday. And there actually was a story on the Today Show, which was pretty cool. Yeah, in the US.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So they recently talked about like how airlines, their loyalty scheme is going to be like a key for them in the future, no? And like how they develop the business and so on.
Obviously, they're our most loyal customers, and they're the customers that we have the most information about. So really being able to reach that loyalty customer and always put the customer at the center of everything we do, and think about how we enrich that customer journey through various touch points, various offers from a loyalty perspective, but also being able to reach them with advertising and targeted messaging that's relevant to what we know about them.
Yeah. Then there's also probably a correlation between being on the loyalty scheme and certain like purchasing power, etc. No, I guess it makes it more interesting even.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives us the opportunity to really provide a better user experience and a better traveler experience across the board.
Yeah, as a frequent traveler, when you have loyalty, there are some perks that maybe are not that obvious, but it does make travel much nicer.
Oh my God, it certainly does. Yeah. You want to strive to be that 1K or Global Services member.
Exactly. What did you do before United? How long have you been with United now?
So it'll be 2 years in January of this year. And prior to that, I've been in the digital media business for my whole career pretty much. All the way back to 1999, but prior to being at United and Kinnective, I was at Warner Brothers Discovery. So I was there for about a little over 9 years. I originally was at Scripps Networks, running the digital ad sales business there for brands like HGTV and Food Network. And then through the Discovery Scripps merger, I moved into a role running the digital ad sales business at Discovery. So really got deep into the streaming business because we launched Discovery Plus and launched all of our connected TV apps. So getting really deep into the streaming and the digital video space is really how my career evolved from the earlier days of selling display advertising and websites. And, you know, I was at Time Inc. before scripts and discovery. So was
and
there for a long time.
Having this background in media, would have you ever thought that you would end up working in an airline?
No, honestly, it was when the opportunity came along, I really got excited about it because I love to travel, first of all. And when I thought about the broader, building off of the success of retail media networks, thinking about how a traveler or a commerce media network could really be an interesting value proposition for advertisers, it just got me super excited. And thinking about this idea of creating the living room in the sky through a really dynamic in-flight entertainment experience was something that was kind of a no-brainer. I was like, this is, again, I've had the fortune of working for a lot of great brands over the year in the lifestyle space, and travel's just always been a passion point for me. So it was just a good combination of many things that I find super interesting, the video space and traveling.
How often do you think you're on a plane?
God, probably a little too much. As
much as we like traveling?
Yeah, I'm based in New York City, but I travel to Chicago quite a bit because that's where our headquarters are for United. So I'm in Chicago quite a bit, but being this is a startup and a new business, I've been traveling quite a bit.
And being in sales?
And being in sales, so really have been on the road. But this is actually my first trip to London, specifically in this role. So it's just a good opportunity to kind of give exposure to what we're doing at United and Kinective on a more kind of global scale.
Was there something else about like the value prop of United that made you especially keen to join?
Yeah, when I really thought about the power of the scale and the owned and operated, touch points that we have across all of these screens, it was really interesting. But from a pure data perspective, I mentioned the scale we have of the Mileage Plus members, but also, 108 million traveler profiles overall. Knowing that it is what we call verified first-party data was something that, again, in this landscape of there being so much data in so many places, having verified data, from my perspective, meant we know exactly who's traveling. So you have to be able to prove who you are before you get on a plane. So you have to show your ID, show your passport. So when we look at the match rates of who we're reaching, it's nearly 100%. Obviously not targeting people who are minors, but that combination of this verified data and the scale of that was super interesting for me.
And you mentioned it also, and I think that's also something fascinating, that you're covering from the website to the in-flight entertainment.
Yeah, the other piece to it that I also have found that's really resonated in the market is this whole concept of attention. Because when people are in a travel mindset, they're just in a different mindset. So we know that people, when you're researching a trip, it takes about 5.5 hours to plan a trip. So you've got that captive audience when they're thinking about.
Sometimes I'm like, okay, just buy this flight to stop wasting time.
Yep. But it's that time spent when you're planning a trip, and then when you're in the airport, we see that people spend 1.5 hours to 2 hours in our clubs. So again, a very captive audience. And then when you're on the plane, it's an average flight time of 3.5 hours, and we find that people are engaging with the in-flight entertainment screens for over 3 hours. So it is a truly captive audience that you're reaching. It's non-skippable advertising, and it is 100% viewable. So that combination of the power of reaching this captive audience and being able to engage with them and surprise and delight them with great content, great advertising, and amazing content on the in-flight system that we've been really focused on building out in a big way over the last couple of years.
And people may be thinking, but what about like if people are not using the in-flight entertainment system, but they may be using the Wi-Fi, then that's another possibility.
It is.
To target them, like
when
you have like the loading screen and so on.
Yeah. So in addition to the in-flight experience, there's also you can log into the personal device entertainment from United, which obviously you can watch on your iPad and your iPhone. And then with the introduction of Starlink and the high-speed internet, it's going to give the consumer the same experience and connectivity that they have on the ground in the sky. Just even watching that segment yesterday on the Today Show, they were showing how the correspondent was watching the Today Show on his personal device, but then also looking at the actual feed from NBC. So it just showed he was blown away just about the speed of what you can do while you're in the air, which is just going to, again, make it such a better consumer experience, because I think we've all had those spotty Wi-Fi experiences when we've been traveling.
I always say, like, getting bored is probably something we need, but it's something that's like very difficult to get bored these days, because like on the phone you can do so many things.
Yeah.
And now on a plane was like one of the last pockets, right?
Right, yeah. And even just opening up, you know, opportunities to shop and to game. And, you know, they actually brought up the fact too about making sure you have your headphones in, so that you're not on a Zoom or a Teams meeting while you're on the flight, but you can actually listen in on calls. And yeah, it's really just going to open up the opportunity to really give the consumer the opportunity to really be productive, I think, while they're in the plane for hours, which is amazing.
And you, from your personal like travel experience, have any unconfessable quirks of the way that you travel?
The way that I travel? I'm such a multitasker when I travel, you know, kind of going between, like, because I travel a lot for work, so obviously like getting a lot of work done when I'm traveling, but, you know, being able to shop on Amazon, be able to, you know, we've also launched a couple of partnerships with brands like Instacart. Through our loyalty program with Instacart, you can now get free delivery within a window of traveling, which is super interesting, because I think we've all been in a situation where you're going on vacation, you're going to be checking into your hotel, your Airbnb, to be able to order groceries ahead of time with free delivery when you're on the plane and have it be there when you get there. Again, like, just adding so much value to the consumer.
Are you a window guy or an aisle guy?
I'm more of an aisle guy.
Same.
Yeah.
I love looking out the window.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like having the freedom to get up when
I think when I was younger, I always wanted a window seat because I wanted to be able to see what was going on. But now I want to be able to.
You've done the same trip so many times.
Yeah, I just want to be able to get up if I need to.
But if you see like the skyline of New York from the plane,
that is always nice.
Right?
Yeah. See my hometown when I get back.
Are you actually from New York?
I grew up in upstate New York, in Utica, New York, so way up by Syracuse. So like 4 hours north of New York City. But I've lived in New York City since 1999, so 26 years.
Yeah.
So I think I'm officially a New Yorker.
Yeah, I think you can you can qualify now. What are like, so I asked you for your behavioral patterns on a plane. Do you have like mapped like what does the typical passenger do? Like what their behavior is?
It's interesting as you walk down the aisle and you see, traveling so much, I see so many different behaviors, and I obviously love when people are watching our in-flight entertainment. That's my number one.
Oh yeah, now that you work as this,
yes,
like
everybody needs to have the screen on. The other thing that's really interesting too is, within the in-flight entertainment, one of the most heavily watched or trafficked areas on the in-flight entertainment system is the maps. And I've noticed that a lot. So many people are looking at the map because they want to see where they're flying over, they want to see what time they're going to be getting to their destination. So we're thinking about ways also from a marketing and advertising perspective to how do we integrate different brands into that experience as well. So when you're flying over, what's going on at these different destinations, and also like what restaurants might you want to visit when you're on your way to your destination. What, you know, we've done a few partnerships, but one specifically with Vivid Seats, where you can actually serve up concerts, sporting events, things that are happening in the destination you are going to. You can actually buy tickets to those events. So that's where it's like that connection comes in, of being able to give the consumer a good payoff. Like, we know you're going to Las Vegas, we know you're going to a college football game. So when you're going to that destination, what restaurants might you want to visit in Cincinnati or whatever city you might be going to?
Yeah. No, makes a lot of sense. I love the map as well. Like, that's, I've gone to the extreme of like watching in-flight entertainment on one thing, and if there's nobody next to me, I put the map.
Yeah. No, I did that on my way here to London.
Do you normally have business class, premium economy?
Yeah, our business class is called Polaris.
Yeah,
so
Polaris.
That's the first class cabin. They've been introducing a lot of enhancements to that too, even like private cabins that you can have. So that was a bigger announcement that we made this year, just about, again, continuing to elevate that first class Polaris experience.
Yeah, it's interesting, like the whole dynamic, how business class has become more premium.
Yeah.
Because before, when I was a kid, I remember business class was just wider seats.
Yeah. Even just thinking about, you know, how to make it even more special with like additional items within amenity kits, and that also opens up partnership opportunities as well, you know, for sampling and ways that we can kind of create more of a experiential opportunity.
In terms of like the communication you send, can you segment?
From a media and advertising perspective, that's something that we've been focused on. So we've been working with, obviously, travel endemic partners and tourism boards and hotels have been a core category for us, but we've seen a lot of interest and have had a lot of success in working with B2B advertisers, with tech advertisers, with luxury advertisers. So being able to serve luxury advertising to people who are sitting within the Polaris section of the plane, because they're spending a lot of money for their ticket, and they probably have a higher household income.
It's more relevant.
Yeah, so it is. It's all about relevancy. So being able to target by cabin class, by destination, by Mileage Plus member status. But destination has been a big part of what we've been focused on as well, because we see spikes in flights and destinations for big events. So Bad Bunny did a residency in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Don't worry, my girlfriend told me all about it.
We saw just like a huge amount of people going to Puerto Rico for those concerts. So being able to specifically look at and looking at trends that we have about bookings for people who are going to, like I said, college football games, the Super Bowl, the World Cup will be something big coming up this year, and being able to reach those people who are going to those destinations with relevant content and advertising that is going to enrich their experience.
And as a passenger, you're like, wow, like what I'm going to is actually very culturally relevant.
Yeah.
Because I've seen ads related to like a congress that I've been to or something like that, of B2B companies, right?
Yeah, that's been
like,
a big part of it too, because there's so many big B2B pharmaceutical conferences that happen throughout the year. You think of things like CES. Or Dreamforce was a huge event, I think, happening this week. So reaching people who are going to these conferences, the majority of the people on the plane are going to be going to that conference. So even for vendors that might be at those shows, to be able to say, come visit us at booth X, Y, or Z.
Also, they're spending so much money on the booth that it's like just a little add-on, really.
Yeah.
Are there any like campaigns that you're especially proud of that you've run so far?
We've been doing a lot with some of the bigger hotel brands out there. One in particular, we've been working with a lot of tourism boards, and we're able to, we're at a retail media conference where there will be a lot of conversation around closed loop reporting. But with a few of the tourism boards we've worked with, we were able to determine, based on the campaign that we ran promoting the destination, we were able to book X number of tickets and then be able to show that it drove X amount of tourism revenue for that destination. So that's an interesting combination of using all of our assets. So, presence within the screens we have in our clubs, presence within the in-flight entertainment, looking at trends that we see from a booking perspective, and then kind of linking that all together to say, based on this campaign that we ran, we drove X number of ticket sales to this destination, and ultimately we're able to drive X amount of tourism revenue for the destination.
Yeah, tourism can be a huge motor for growth in certain places.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that's been a big area of focus. I think it'll continue to be for next year as well.
And that like the podcast is called the FMCG guys. FMCG is what we call in Europe CPG, fast moving consumer goods. Right?
Okay.
Well, we have a partner podcast called the CPG guys.
Which I know of that. Yeah.
Yep. So there are partners in the US. So a lot of our listeners are then from that industry.
Yeah.
How do you see like your value proposition for consumer
CPG
goods,
brands?
Yeah.
There's seasonal moments that I think make a ton of sense for CPG brands. So if you think about, I was talking about people who are traveling to a college football game. It's huge in the US, college football in the fall. People are going to games all over the country. They're flying for those games. And what are they doing when they're there? They're typically tailgating.
What does that mean?
So prior to a football game in the US, college or NFL football game, the parking lot is literally filled with people who are barbecuing, partying, having a good time, but thinking about what they're going to want to order or what they're going to want to bring with them to that game. So there's, like you think of like a Kraft Heinz, like there's a huge opportunity to promote all of the condiments that you might need for that upcoming game. So,
beverages comes without saying.
Yeah. It's really thinking about big opportunity there for CPG brands to think about the traveler mindset, and when people are going to a destination, what are the food, beverages, things like that they might need.
And I think, I don't know if that's part of your remit, but I think that clearly there's a good opportunity for brands to like sample on the planes and so on, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And you said amenity kit as well.
Yeah, the thinking about, you know, how to enhance that amenity kit experience that we have with beauty products, luxury goods. But yeah, it's something we're working towards, is thinking about how we can do more things that are either sampling or experiential on the plane or in the clubs. And that's something that I think is, an interesting.
The clubs is like the lounges, no? I guess, which is huge as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, people are spending a lot of time there. I think there's a really interesting way to engage with that consumer when they're spending that time there and expose them, or again, like surprise and delight them with something they might not expect to receive as a Mileage Plus member, or even just somebody who maybe has a pass for the day.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like these little experiences are the ones that like make something more memorable at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, the flywheel of what we're doing, putting the consumer at the center, reaching that traveler, enhancing their loyalty experience, and then giving them relevant advertising and messaging that's going to enhance their overall experience and expose them to things they might not be aware of.
Which is fun in the way that travel kind of was a bit of a race to the bottom for a long time. And I think that now we're seeing a bit more like customer centricity. No?
Yeah, and thinking about just ways to elevate the experience, because that just leads to a more loyal customer overall.
What are you excited about in the next year?
A few things. I think the rollout of Starlink and the high-speed connectivity is going to open up.
That's huge.
Yeah, a lot of great consumer experience overall. I think it's going to increase the number of Mileage Plus members that we have, because you have to be a Mileage Plus member in order to access that. But I think it's also going to open up the opportunity to think about ways that we can even get more relevant and targeted with the messaging that we have, and open up the pipes from a programmatic perspective too, to be able to, have it be more seamless and more real time to be able to serve the messaging. And I think as this commerce and travel media space continues to grow, I would say we're new to market. We've been in market a little over a year, so it's a new offering, but moving it from being more of like a niche, newer opportunity to a more mainstream media offering that's part of the overall media ecosystem. I think that's going to be really exciting overall.
I think that after listening to this podcast, people will be like, oh, maybe we should actually look at airlines.
I hope so.
Yeah. Last one. We asked this to all our guests, which is, if you went back to the beginning of your career and you could give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
I've always worked for big media companies my whole career. Warner Brothers Discovery, Time Inc. I was at Business Week for earlier in my career, and I think coming to Kinective and United and having it be kind of a startup situation within a big airline, I think I would just say, if I look back on it, I think I maybe took the safe route in working for big traditional media companies, and I'm just loving what I'm doing, and I wish I maybe took a little more risk earlier on to say, I'm going to take a risk and go work for this startup and build a business from the ground up, because that's just been so much fun.